This is not breaking news. This is not a scandal. This is not about one person. It is, however, a quiet yet devastating shift, a breach so deep that most won't even recognize the danger until it's too late. We're talking about a national institution, the kind of place you might think is immune to political machinations, immune to the type of corruption that wears a smile but hides its teeth. But that's the point. When a system this large and this entrenched starts to break down, it happens slowly. A crack here, a shadow there, and before you know it, the foundation you thought was solid is nothing more than a house of cards. The time to pay attention is now. You might not have noticed yet, but we're at a tipping point. This is more than an attack on one building. This is the test case for everything that comes next. And if it works, if the forces at play here succeed, this isn't just about one institution anymore. It's about the entire system. Now, let's look at how we got here. So, what controls this system? It's not the people we see on TV. It's not the figures standing at podiums or giving speeches. Those are just the faces, the distractions. What truly controls the system now? It's the money, the influence, the quiet strings being pulled behind the scenes. This isn't about one person's vision or a single grand idea. No, this is about a financial network that operates in the shadows, moving vast sums without scrutiny, unchallenged by the very structures meant to hold it accountable. When you understand this, everything changes. You see, it's not about what's legal or moral anymore. It's about what's profitable, what's politically viable, and how far you can push the boundaries before someone says enough. But this is where it starts to get dangerous, because the system isn't just broken. It's being manipulated inch by inch until it's unrecognizable, and no one is stopping it, at least not yet. It didn't happen overnight. This didn't start with a big, dramatic move that shook the system to its core. It began slowly, gradually, so slowly, in fact, that most didn't notice it happening. Think back. There was a time when national institutions were meant to remain above the fray. They were shields against the political storms, meant to hold steady regardless of the changing winds. But what happens when that steady ground starts to erode bit by bit without anyone noticing? You might not remember the first cracks, the executive orders that seemed harmless at first, even benign, the calls for revitalization of institutions that had already thrived for decades. But it wasn't revitalization, it was restructuring. Reworking the very core of what made these institutions powerful, respected, and untouchable. By the time you see the damage, it's already too late to fix. Then the shock came. The first jolt that made you question everything you thought you knew about how this system operates. A seemingly routine push, a bill in Congress, a plan on paper, something that seemed small, almost trivial. But it wasn't. It was the symptom, not the story. A $400 million allocation, that's not just a number. That's the kind of money that could change everything. And when you follow the money trail, it starts to look like a game, a high-stakes game, where the rules are written by those who can move cash and make deals. But here's the kicker. They thought no one would notice. No one would ask questions. No one would connect the dots. And yet, they were wrong. But why? What's driving this? That's the question you need to answer. And it's only going to get worse. This is how it works. This is how the system has been twisted from the inside. The money doesn't flow in predictable ways anymore. It doesn't go from taxpayers to services to projects to the public good. No. Now it flows through channels that don't make sense. Shell companies, fake contractors, secretive ownership. These are the new gatekeepers. At the heart of it, it's not about a better system. It's about bending the system to serve a few those with the power to manipulate it. Look at the company behind this scheme, American Heritage Development Group. On paper, it's just another contractor. But behind the facade, a maze of hidden connections, a trail leading directly to Trump's family interests. This is how power is consolidated, through companies with no workers, no projects, just an address, and millions in federal funds. You're not supposed to see this. You're not supposed to notice the fingerprints on every dollar. But now you know. And now, so do they. The system is exposed. And then It accelerates. The pace picks up. No more slow moves, no more quiet shifts. The pressure builds, the stakes get higher. Millions are moved, and then some of it disappears. The plan, now in motion, starts to unravel in real time. A $23 million transfer already made, funds that were supposed to be used for disaster relief, infrastructure, for real emergencies redirected. The game's changing. The money's moving faster now. No one can keep up. This isn't just a case of overreach. This is the unraveling of trust. Trust that those in power will act in good faith. Trust that there are still safeguards in place to stop this from happening. But now it's a rush, a scramble to hide the evidence before it's too late. And all the while, the people, the public, remain in the dark. It's not just happening in secret anymore. It's happening in the open, right under everyone's nose. And now, it's personal. What does this mean for you? For the people who rely on these institutions, for the ones who believed in the idea that these places, these pillars of culture and democracy, were above the reach of political manipulation? You've seen it in your community, haven't you? The cuts to programs, the slashing of funding that you rely on, the spaces where people gather to learn, to create, to challenge ideas. What happens when these places are turned into political tools? When they're no longer safe havens for free thought, for culture that challenges, for education that empowers? What happens when they become platforms for an agenda, not a community? These aren't just budget cuts. This is the death of a vision that many of us thought was invulnerable, but it's crumbling, and you can feel it. The damage isn't just financial. It's cultural, it's emotional, and it's just beginning. This isn't just happening here. This is already echoing around the world. When a system as vast as this one starts to rot, it doesn't stay contained. It spills over. Other countries watch closely. The ripple effects are global. It's not just about one national institution anymore. This is a test, a precedent. If this works here, what happens next? The National Gallery? The Smithsonian? What's to stop this from spreading to every institution that relies on federal funding? If the Kennedy Center falls, so does every cultural institution tied to the government. And make no mistake, this isn't just about art or culture. This is about the foundation of how we view democracy itself. It's about accountability. And if it crumbles here, there's nothing left to stop it from crumbling everywhere. So, where does this go from here? We have three potential paths. First, asterisk, asterisk, adjustment, asterisk, asterisk. The system might adapt. Congress could impose stricter regulations. Oversight might return. Maybe this is just a blip in the system, some ugly moments, but ultimately, a correction is made. The institutions are preserved, and we move forward wiser. Second, erosion. Maybe it doesn't happen all at once, but the cracks deepen. Gradually, these attacks on our cultural institutions become more frequent, more accepted. We start to lose ground bit by bit, and before long, it's too late to repair what's been lost. Small compromises accumulate. The system erodes from the inside. And then there's asterisk, asterisk, rupture, asterisk, asterisk. What if it all falls apart? What if this is the first in a series of systemic collapses? What if we wake up one day and realize the damage is irreparable? The institutions, the guardrails, the checks and balances, all gone. We don't know which path we're on yet. And that's the danger. We're not done here. We've seen the cracks. We've seen the tension, the strain on systems that were once designed to protect us. But this fight, it's just beginning. The Senate's vote today, the court's ruling, they're not the end. They're a moment, a small win. But don't be mistaken, this is a war that doesn't end with one battle. Trump will pivot. He'll retool his strategy. The money, the influence, it will find other ways to seep through the cracks. And if we're not paying attention, it will start to break things even more profoundly. And while you're watching this, while the story unfolds, don't forget this. Asterisk, you're part of the resistance. Asterisk, it's up to you to see the warning signs. It's up to you to recognize the shift before it becomes something we can't undo. This fight isn't over. But right now, in this moment, we have a choice. to let it slide or to rise, speak up, and demand more. The system can still be held accountable, but only if enough of us see the truth, and only if we act before it's too late. The story doesn't end here. Stay alert.